You know, when your knee starts aching, like in your 40s or 50s, you probably picture your cartilage just wearing away like sandpaper.
Right, yeah, that's the classic image.
Yeah. You imagine an x-ray showing the bone just grinding down to dust. And in a weird way, having a tangible villain is almost comforting.
Oh, absolutely. It gives you something solid to blame.
Exactly. You just assume the hardware is broken. But what if the problem isn't the hardware of your joint wearing down, but the software drying up?
That is exactly the distinction we need to be making.
Right. So today we are looking at a completely hidden culprit behind joint pain. We are pulling from some incredibly eye-opening excerpts from a document called Joint Genesis, Restoring Joint Lubrication and Mobility.
Yeah, specifically, we're zeroing in on a section titled The Joint Lubrication Secret Nobody Talks About.
Yes, that's the one. And really, our mission for this deep dive is to fundamentally rethink why we get stiff, achy joints as we age.
Because for so long, we've just accepted it as normal.
Right, exactly. For so long, you and I and pretty much everyone else have been told that losing our flexibility is just the inevitable result of, wear and tear.
The unavoidable price of admission for getting older.
Yep. But the sources we are looking at today suggest this simply is not the full story. Not even close.
No, it's really not. What's fascinating here is how millions of people in their 40s, 50s, and beyond just accept losing their flexibility as a biological absolute.
Yeah, they just give up.
They do. They wake up stiff, they struggle with the stairs, they hear those cracking sounds, and they just resign themselves to the idea that their joints are just old.
Oh, the cracking sounds, the human bubble wrap effect.
Exactly, the bubble wrap effect. But the clinical science we are examining points to a completely different mechanism. We are talking about a fluid problem, not a structural problem.
A fluid problem. Okay.
Yeah, and understanding that distinction changes everything. Because, while a fluid problem can often be addressed.
Okay, let's get into the biology of what is actually happening inside the body before we look at any kind of intervention.
Good idea.
Because the symptoms are universally recognized.
Yeah.
You've got the stiff knees, the aching hips, the joints that feel incredibly tight after you've been sitting for a long car ride.
Oh, yeah, that stiffness when you first get out of the car.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
There's that morning stiffness that makes the first 10 steps out of bed an absolute chore.
Right. And to understand why those symptoms occur, we have to look inside a healthy joint capsule.
Okay, lay it on us. What's in there?
Well, according to the text, a healthy joint contains a vital component called synovial fluid.
Synovial fluid, got it.
If you picture two bones meeting at a joint, they aren't just hovering there, and they aren't merely capped with cartilage. The entire space is bathed in this synovial fluid.
So it's not just an empty space.
No, not at all. It's a thick, highly viscous substance. It acts simultaneously as a natural lubricant and a heavy-duty shock absorber.
Oh, wow. So it's doing double duty.
Exactly. It allows the joint surfaces to glide past one another with near zero friction.
Okay, let's unpack this. The source points out that as we age, particularly once we cross that 40-year mark, the body's production of a specific compound called hyaluronic acid begins to plummet.
Right, it really drops out.
And this is where the trouble starts, because hyaluronic acid is the magic ingredient in that synovial fluid, isn't it?
It is the defining ingredient, yes. Hyaluronic acid is this massive molecule that binds to water.
It holds the water in.
Exactly. It is what gives synovial fluid its thick, slippery, egg-white consistency.
Oh, egg whites. That's a great visual.
Yeah, it's very much like that. In our youth, our cells, specifically the synoviocytes lining the joint capsule, they pump out plenty of hyaluronic acid.
So everything stays nice and cushioned.
Right. The fluid stays thick. But the aging process introduces cellular senescence. Those synoviocytes just become sluggish.
They slow down.
They do. And at the same time, the body actually produces more of the enzymes that actively break down hyaluronic acid.
Wait, really? So it's a double whammy.
It's a total double whammy. You have a sudden shift in the biological balance. There's less being produced and more being destroyed.
So the joint literally loses its ability to hold on to water. The fluid thins out and becomes like watery instead of thick.
Yes, exactly. It dehydrates.
The source uses the analogy of a door hinge drying out, but I keep picturing a car engine.
Oh, a car engine is a great way to think about it.
Right. Because if you are driving down the highway and your engine suddenly seizes up, you don't immediately blame the metal components.
No, of course not.
You don't jump out and say, oh, the metal pistons must have just worn down today. You check the oil.
Right. You check the fluids.
So are we basically driving our bodies around a quart low on oil?
That analogy captures the exact mechanical failure happening inside the joint capsule.
Wow.
Yeah. When that synovial fluid thins out due to a lack of hyaluronic acid, the friction inside the joint skyrockets. The protective cushion is just gone.
So the bones are just grinding.
Well, the cartilage surfaces are experiencing significantly more mechanical stress with every single step you take or every stair you climb. You are literally running the engine without enough oil.
And that friction generates heat, inflammation, and pain.
Exactly. And because it happens on a cellular level, it's insidious. The text calls it the resty joint feeling, but it sneaks up on you.
It doesn't just happen overnight.
No, it is a profoundly gradual process. The enzyme activity shifts over years, not days. People don't notice their synovial fluid is thinning out.
Because you can't feel the moisture leaving the joint.
Right. You only notice it when you reach a critical threshold of dehydration, when the friction finally overwhelms the joint's tolerance.
Like waking up on a cold morning and just feeling completely locked up.
Exactly. Or you try to stand up after a 2-hour movie and the joint simply refuses to glide smoothly.
I am struggling with a major aspect of this, though.
Okay, what's that?
Well, if the root cause for so many people is a lack of lubrication, like a fluid problem,
Yeah.
why are we constantly bombarded with messaging about cartilage?
Ah, yeah, the cartilage focus.
Yeah, like if you look at the millions of joint supplements lining the shelves at the pharmacy, the buzzwords are always glucosamine and chondroitin.
Right. Always those two.
Wait, for decades we've been told cartilage loss is the ultimate enemy. Are you saying people are basically treating the wrong part of the joint?
This raises an important question, and it really highlights a massive disconnect between traditional market solutions and modern joint mechanics.
Okay.
Because the text points out that conventional joint supplements rely almost exclusively on glucosamine and chondroitin.
Right.
But those nutrients are entirely designed to support cartilage health. They target the solid surface of the joint.
The hardware.
Yes, the hardware. But they do virtually nothing to address the synovial fluid or the hyaluronic acid depletion.
They just ignore the fluid completely.
Completely. They ignore the environment that the cartilage actually lives in.
But what if someone has like a bone-on-bone x-ray? If their cartilage is severely degraded, how is rehydrating the joint going to do anything if the structural damage is already there?
That's a fair question.
Isn't focusing on the fluid at that point just ignoring the massive pothole in the road?
Reframe that using your car analogy. Taking cartilage supplements without hydrating the joint is like putting brand new, state-of-the-art brake pads on a car, but forgetting to put brake fluid in the lines.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The pads might be pristine, but you still can't stop the car because the operating environment is broken.
Because the fluid is what makes the system work.
Exactly. Cartilage is incredibly important, but cartilage does not have its own blood supply.
Wait, really? It doesn't have blood flow?
No, it relies entirely on the surrounding synovial fluid to deliver nutrients and cushion the mechanical load.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, so if the joint remains dry and poorly lubricated, movement is still going to hurt, regardless of how much cartilage support you ingest. The friction remains unresolved.
So the glucosamine alone just isn't enough.
No. Health experts are now shifting their focus because they realize that hydration inside the joint structure is the necessary baseline. You have to fix the fluid environment first, or the cartilage doesn't stand a chance.
Okay, so if glucosamine is just giving us brake pads without the brake fluid, how do we actually get the oil back into the engine?
Right, the solution.
The source material highlights a specific intervention called joint genesis, and its approach is fundamentally different from the traditional supplement aisle.
It really is. The text introduces joint genesis as a doctor-formulated supplement inspired by emerging Ivy League research.
Ivy League research. Nice.
Yeah. And instead of throwing more structural building blocks like glucosamine at a fluid problem, its formulation is based on this newer understanding of joint mechanics.
Getting to the root of the friction.
Exactly. It is designed to target the root cause.
So it's formulated to force the body to address that hyaluronic acid deficit. It's supporting the underlying mechanisms for healthy joint lubrication rather than just masking surface-level symptoms.
Right. It targets that biological balance we discussed earlier. By providing specific compounds that the body uses to synthesize hyaluronic acid, it supports the rethickening of the synovial fluid.
Bringing back that egg white consistency.
Yes. When you restore that viscous egg white consistency, you immediately begin to alter the mechanical dynamics of the joint.
Less friction.
Exactly. The primary benefits outlined in the text, like improved flexibility, easier bending and stretching, and smoother daily movement, those are the direct physical results of reducing that internal friction.
So walking and climbing stairs begin to feel fluid again because the joint surfaces are actually gliding rather than scraping.
That's the goal. Gliding, not scraping.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me, though.
Oh.
The source material doesn't just stop at the physical mechanics. It specifically highlights a benefit they call support for active aging.
Yes, the active aging aspect.
Right. And they define this not in clinical terms, but in life terms. Being able to travel, to garden, to get down on the floor and play with your grandkids.
It frames the entire conversation differently.
Totally differently. This isn't just about avoiding a little pain in your knee. It's about preserving your independence. It's about preserving your confidence as you get older.
The psychological impact of joint health cannot be overstated. Healthy movement fundamentally depends on trusting your body.
Trusting that your knee isn't going to give out.
Exactly. When joint genesis helps restore that internal moisture balance, it removes a massive layer of physical restriction. Think about the mental calculus someone with joint pain does every single day.
Oh, I know. It's exhausting.
They brace themselves before standing up from a chair. They scan a room to find the highest, easiest seat. They mentally map out the stairs.
It's like you're constantly negotiating with your own body.
Exactly. But when you address the mechanical stress at the root level of hydration, and the joint moves the way it was originally meant to, that mental burden just lifts.
You feel freer.
Yeah. Feeling less physically restricted translates immediately into feeling more confident in navigating the world.
You stop second-guessing whether you can handle that weekend hike. You stop volunteering to sit out the family badminton game in the backyard just to save your knees.
Right. You stop living defensively.
Living defensively, that's a great way to put it.
And that defensive living is exactly what this new approach aims to eliminate. By addressing the fluid, you give people permission to participate fully in their own lives again.
I love that. But the text is also very clear that we aren't just talking about a magic pill here.
No, definitely not.
Because joint genesis is fundamentally about hydration and movement. But the source provides a much broader context.
Right, the lifestyle factors.
Yet it outlines a holistic approach to joint hydration through 5 specific lifestyle habits. Because if the goal is changing the internal environment of the joint, what you do on a daily basis has to support that.
Absolutely. The source outlines a very practical synergy between targeted support and daily habits. The first habit it lists is staying adequately hydrated with water.
Just drinking plain old water.
Seems simple, but it is often completely overlooked.
Well, I imagine if you want hydrated joints, you need a hydrated body.
Precisely.
You can't expect your body to produce thick, moisture-rich synovial fluid if you're walking around chronically dehydrated.
The biology literally demands it. Hyaluronic acid holds up to 1,000 times its weight in water.
1,000 times, wow.
Yeah. So if your systemic water levels are low, the body prioritizes vital organs over joint lubrication.
The brain gets the water, not the knees.
Exactly.
Mm.
The raw materials simply aren't there for the joints.
Okay, so that's habit 1.
The second habit the text notes is moving regularly. It specifically states that movement physically circulates the synovial fluid through the joints.
Wait, I want to focus on that for a second. So
Yeah.
the old saying, motion is lotion, is actually biologically accurate. Sitting still makes the fluid stagnant.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of joint anatomy, motion is lotion is a literal description of the biological process.
Literal.
Literal. As I mentioned earlier, cartilage does not have a blood supply. It receives its oxygen and nutrients directly from the synovial fluid. When you sit for long periods, that fluid settles. But the joint capsule acts like a mechanical pump.
Like a sponge being squeezed.
Exactly. The physical act of bending and extending your joints creates pressure changes that squeeze the cartilage like a sponge, pushing old fluid out and pulling fresh, nutrient-rich, lubricating fluid in.
Oh, wow.
Movement is the engine that drives joint hydration.
So sitting at a desk for 8 hours isn't just making your muscles tight. It is actively starving your cartilage of the lubrication it needs to stay healthy.
Unfortunately, yes. Without the mechanical pump of movement, the fluid cannot do its job.
Okay, what about the third habit?
The third habit the text highlights is maintaining a healthy weight. And this comes down to pure physics.
Physics. Got it.
Every pound of excess weight multiplies the mechanical force exerted on your weight-bearing joints, particularly the knees and hips.
So it's on a 1-to-1 ratio.
No, it multiplies. By maintaining a healthy weight, you drastically reduce the shear load that the synovial fluid has to cushion against.
You are taking the heavy cargo out of the trunk, so the shock absorbers don't have to work as hard.
That is the perfect analogy, yes.
Awesome. And what about the fourth habit? The source mentions eating anti-inflammatory foods, so things like fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, and foods rich in omega-3s.
Right. The dietary aspect.
How does diet actually change the fluid inside a sealed joint capsule, though? That seems disconnected.
It changes the chemical environment. Remember those enzymes we discussed earlier, the ones that break down hyaluronic acid as we age?
Oh, right, the ones that cause the double whammy.
Exactly. Those enzymes are highly reactive to systemic inflammation.
Oh, I see.
When you consume a diet high in processed foods or refined sugars, it triggers an inflammatory cascade in the body. This inflammation seeps into the synovial fluid, creating a toxic environment that actually accelerates the breakdown of the lubricating compounds.
So junk food literally dries out your joints.
Essentially, yes. Conversely, omega-3 fatty acids and antioxidants actively suppress those inflammatory pathways.
They calm things down.
Exactly. They protect the hyaluronic acid from being dismantled, allowing the fluid to remain thick and protective.
So you are essentially protecting the oil in the engine from breaking down prematurely.
Beautifully said.
Okay, and the final habit mentioned in the source is prioritizing recovery, getting adequate rest and sleep.
This one is huge.
I think most people associate sleep with, like, brain function or muscle recovery after a workout. But how does it impact joint lubrication?
Well, sleep is the body's dedicated repair window. During the deepest stages of sleep, the body releases growth hormone.
Okay.
And that growth hormone stimulates the repair of connective tissues, including cartilage and the synoviocytes that produce the hyaluronic acid.
The little factory is making the fluid.
Exactly. If you shortchange your sleep, you are interrupting the exact biological processes required to maintain joint integrity.
You are driving the car 204/7 without ever taking it into the shop for maintenance.
Spot on. You have to give the body time off the road to repair.
It really requires a completely synergistic approach, doesn't it?
It does. It's all connected.
You need systemic hydration. You need targeted support from something like joint genesis to provide the building blocks for synovial fluid.
Yeah.
You need an anti-inflammatory diet to protect that fluid. You need deep sleep to repair the system. And you need the mechanical pump of daily movement to distribute all of that goodness throughout the joint.
You've got it. All 5 habits work in concert to change the physical and chemical reality inside the joint capsule.
It's like building an ecosystem.
Exactly. You are actively engineering a better environment for your joints to operate in.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
That's the big question.
It means we need to radically change how we view getting older. Joint stiffness is not a life sentence handed down by the calendar.
No, it's really not.
It isn't just permanent, unavoidable structural damage that you simply have to grit your teeth and endure.
Absolutely not.
It is a highly specific, biological, and most importantly, addressable problem of joint dehydration and a loss of synovial fluid.
That's the core message right there.
Whether you are currently prepping to run a marathon, trying to keep up with your kids in the yard, or honestly, if you just want to be able to get out of bed in the morning without wincing, understanding the hydration of your joints changes the entire game.
It gives you the power back.
Yeah. It's about shifting your focus from just treating the cartilage to actually restoring the vital lubrication that protects it. By utilizing targeted support like joint genesis to tackle the hyaluronic acid deficit and adopting those key lifestyle habits to keep the fluid moving, you take control of the environment inside your body.
It totally reframes the entire concept of aging gracefully.
It really does.
We just spent this time learning that what we often accept as permanent structural wear and tear in our joints is frequently just a reversible drying out process.
It's a software issue, not a hardware failure.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder if a targeted approach to hydration can completely change how our joints function. What other aspects of our aging process have we completely misunderstood simply because we've been looking at the structure instead of the lubrication?